Good afternoon. Thank you all for coming at short notice today. I want to start by extending my condolences and sympathies to the families and colleagues of those who were killed in today's shooting event. Their lives have been irrevocably affected by this tragic situation, and our thoughts are with them. I've had an update from the investigation team, which is working at pace to understand why and how this terrible event occurred today in the Auckland CBD. At 7:22 a.m, police received multiple emergency calls with reports of a person discharging a firearm from inside the third floor of a building under construction at the bottom of Queen Street. Police were on scene at the site within minutes. We're continuing to piece together the entire sequence of events, but what we know is as follows. The offender made his way up through the building site, discharging his firearm on multiple occasions. Police entered the building within 10 minutes. Staff from various groups right across Tamaki Makaurau responded, and members of the public inside the building were evacuated wherever possible. We know that several workers found refuge hiding inside the building during the event. At around 8 a.m, our Armed Offenders Squad, supported by a Special Tactics Group, located the offender inside a lift shaft where he had barricaded himself and attempted to engage him, having secured the floors above and below. The offender fired at police, injuring an officer. Shots were exchanged and the offender was later found deceased. Tragically, police located two members of the public deceased on the lower levels of the building site. The police officer was transported to hospital in a critical condition. We can advise he has stabilised. The four members of the public have injuries ranging from moderate to serious. At least one of these people self-presented at the Auckland City Hospital with moderate injuries. While the situation is still developing, we know that there may be more victims as they make themselves known to police, and these injury statuses may change. The building has now been cleared and the lockdown lifted. A scene guard will remain in place while investigations continue. This was an incredibly alarming incident for workers who were just starting their day. We've contained the situation and are not seeking anybody else. We have not formally identified the offender. However, we believe he is a 24-year-old. We understand he has worked at the construction site and believe the reason for his presence at the site this morning was connected with that work. We know that those who live and work in the vicinity may be feeling vulnerable. However, we can provide reassurance that there is no reason for ongoing concern about this situation. There is an increased police presence in the area, and we reassure the public that they can continue to come into the central city. The immediate vicinity remains cordoned while our team undertakes the scene examination. We are communicating with local and central government and FIFA tournament organisers. We've been part of the planning for the FIFA Women's World Cup for some time, and as such we're well placed to manage the impacts on the event. We're satisfied there's no ongoing risk to the public and no reason why the tournament should not proceed. The matches are safe to attend. Again, I want to acknowledge this has been a shocking and traumatic event for those people who came to work and found themselves in the middle of an armed emergency. Thankfully, many people were able to escape the building, but I know that for those who hid or remained trapped, this was a terrifying experience. I want to acknowledge the bravery of our staff who walk towards danger to keep the public safe. I'm very proud of their actions today. I'm happy to take any questions.
Yes, Mr. Costa, look, so you say there's an exchange of fire. Do you know if the offender was killed in that exchange or did he shoot himself?
We won't know that until we have completed our investigation.
Okay, and the victims, were they working at the construction site, the victims?
We believe that the victims are connected with the site, but we have yet to confirm that.
What can you tell us about the weapon? Was it a banned weapon, and how was he able to get hold of it while on electronic monitoring?
We believe that the weapon is a shotgun, so not a prohibited weapon. However, the individual does not have a firearms licence, so clearly he should not have possessed it.
Can you confirm that the offender was indeed on some form of electronic monitoring, home detention, wearing an anklet? Was that?
I can confirm that the offender is the subject of a sentence of home detention. However, he had an exemption to work at the site, and so there's no indication at this stage of a breach of those conditions.
So he wasn't breaching conditions if he went to work and his work was at the site?
We don't believe so.
How come Aucklanders are again in a position where someone known to police has caused this level of harm?
The individual's known for primarily family violence history. There is nothing to suggest that he has presented a higher level risk than was indicated by that history.
Were
Mr.
checks,
Costa.
were checks done of his property to ensure that he didn't have access to firearms?
Yes, there has been previous search of his property. I'm not going to go into fine detail about that because we need to work it through, but we have certainly never found him in possession of a firearm.
Are you able to say where the victims were actually shot on their bodies?
No, I can't give that kind of detail. Obviously, there's a
And do you
lot of
know-
work still to
Do you
do.
know where in the site they were actually shot?
I'm told the lower levels of the building, that's all I know.
What was the motivation?
Was the police officer who's critically injured, was he or she shot by the offender?
Yes, the injured officer was shot by the offender in the exchange of fire that occurred within the lift well, and that officer is expected to undergo surgery today.
Do you know what
But they've stabilised?
Yes.
Can you
Do you
give
know
us
what the motivation for the attack was at this point?
We believe it's connected with the work at the site, but I can't go into more detail than that because there's a lot of people to interview.
But it's confirmed that there's no ideological motivation.
We know of absolutely no suggestion that would say this is a national security type event.
Can you give any more information around how he was able to conceal the weapon and get it into the building?
No, I don't know yet the details of how he entered. That will all come clear. There are lots of witnesses for us to speak to.
Now, what fears did police have as the incident was unfolding? Were there any concerns about more deaths?
Well, this was clearly an active shooter situation. We had multiple shots being fired, including at the point our staff had arrived at the scene. That in itself is a terrifying situation. Our staff show the courage to walk towards that danger and deal with it, and they did. And as I say, very proud of them.
And can I just ask, what lengths were police prepared to go to resolve this incident? We understand that officers may have shot from the Eagle helicopter as it was responding if necessary. Was that right?
I can't speak to whether that occurred. They will be doing everything possible whilst trying to keep the public safe.
Commissioner, in terms of the officers, you described police officers entering the scene, which is an incredibly brave thing to do. Who were the first responders? Who got there first? Were they just uniform cops, or did you get the armed offender squad there, or the special tactics group?
We had staff responding from all over Auckland. We have a good number of armed offender squad represented within our core units, and so as I understand it, the staff who entered and moved through the building were at least armed offender squad qualified.
What do we know about the perpetrator's mental state? Was that a motivation in the attack?
We know that there have been some indications of mental health history in this case, but I don't have the detail of that.
Have police secured any other locations around Auckland as part of this investigation?
We have done checks at other locations, but there are no other scenes that we are presently aware of.
Was
The
it helpful?
FIFA fan zone obviously inside the cordon currently. Will that be permitted to open tonight?
We have withdrawn our cordon back to quite a small footprint near the building, so everything is able to proceed.
And
Mr.
any
Costa, do you know how the
increased police
offend-
presence,
sorry.
any increased police presence around Eden Park or anywhere related to the FIFA World Cup?
We have an elevated presence anyway because of the FIFA World Cup, and we will continue to bolster that for reassurance purposes. As I say, there is no reason for people to be concerned about the situation.
And
Do
obviously,
you know
just
the
one more-
movements
sorry,
of the
just one more
offender
on-
before the incident? Did he travel there by train? Do you
No.
know?
Was it helpful to have the Mayor of Auckland sharing unverified information on national television this morning before police had spoken?
Oh, look, I haven't followed that media, so I can't speak to
But
that.
should people be listening to, police before releasing information?
I'm not going to comment on that.
Obviously, this comes at a time when the world is watching Auckland for the World Cup. What is your message to visitors who have come here? Can you give them assurances of safety?
Yeah, this is a tragic situation. As I say, it's connected apparently with this workplace. I have no elevated concern about FIFA. This is a generally safe country, and we're very proud of the work we've done in preparation for this event.
The person that you mentioned who self-presented at the hospital, was that from a gunshot wound?
Yes, I believe so, yes.
Do police have any concerns about the flow of passengers coming off the ferry and how quickly they were stopped from entering the sea?
No.
Do you know how old the victims were?
No, I don't.
No.
Earlier comments from the Prime Minister and police suggested there were 6 injuries. It's now 5. Was that just a technical?
Oh, look, I'm quite sure that number will move around. This was a very dynamic situation. We have been able to confirm 6, including our injured officer. I suspect that number could be higher, and people may have presented at the hospital in the last hour or two that I haven't heard about.
Commissioner, what support will be offered to members of the public who were around at that time and the victims going forward?
We have victim support working alongside of us to support those victims, and of course that extends to family and so on. So our officers will be very attentive to those who have been impacted by the situation.
And furthermore, the officers involved, will they be looked after?
Absolutely. We have a really solid process around how we support officers involved in these situations.
What questions does this raise around electronic monitoring and the adequacy of monitoring of people on electronic bail, given this is somebody who was charged with some pretty serious offences in March?
Look, I think I can't comment on this case. I don't have all of the facts surrounding those previous events. But what I can say is any time these decisions are being taken, there is a weighing of risk, and the system works with what it knows at the time. Whether this was foreseeable is not clear to me.
When was the last time the offender's house was searched?
I can't give you the exact detail on that.
Have you been in touch with FIFA officials about tonight if you do need an extra precaution of the security time of the games?
We have been in touch with FIFA officials and provided reassurance about what the policing profile will be for these events.
But does it need to be altered?
I don't believe so, because this is not a situation that appears in any way connected to the event.
Obviously a pretty scary time for your staff down there this morning. What is your message to them on their performance this morning? Were you satisfied with that response?
Look, I'm incredibly proud of the actions our staff took. This is probably the worst kind of situation you'll face, where you know there's someone intent on causing harm who's still active. So their willingness to go in there and sort it out as they did is outstanding. Thank you, everyone.